Welcome to lesson 16. In this lesson we'll be talking about chord substitution and passing chords. Chord substitution is simply the act of replacing a chord with another chord in a chord progression. We have covered the most basic forms of chord substitution in lesson 9. We talked briefly on the three basic chord substitutions in that lesson. The first, the tonic substitution, which says we can replace the tonic with the 3, mediant 3 or submediant 6. The subdominant with supertonic substitution, which says we can replace 4, the submediant 4, with the supertonic 2. And the dominant with leading tone substitution, which says we can replace 5 with 7. But of course we said playing the 7th chord is a weaker chord substitution for 5, so we talked about playing 7 as the bass and 5 as on the right hand. Now, but there are some other chord substitutions that we can learn in this lesson. So the first on the list is major or minor chords with suspended chords. So you can replace, for example, a C major with your C sus2 or C sus4. It's best used when you're trying to place some emphasis on the 2nd or 4th note, as the case may be. Now that's just basically playing suspended chords instead of your major chords. Now the next chord substitution is major chords with 2 chords. We talked about replacing, instead of a major chord, you play the C add 2 or F add 2 and G add 2. Adding the 2nd degree to any major chord in a major scale adds beauty and quality to the tune. Now the next chord substitution is the tonic 1/6 with the submediant 6/7. Okay, let's use C as example. C6 is a C6, adding 6, replacing it with the submediant, that's a 6, the submediant 7th. This is the submediant 7th. So this is a good substitution for your C6. You can see that they have the same notes, C, E, G and A. Now but the order is different, A, C, E and G. So that's another chord substitution. Now you can also replace the tonic 1 major 7th with mediant 3. Tonic 1, C on C. This is the C major 7. It can be replaced with the mediant 3. You can see they both sound similar because of the similarity in their notes. C major 7th with E minor. Now the next chord substitution is the flattened 7th. The flattened 7th to subdominant 4 in a chord progression. You can replace, let's take a chord progression, for example, in the 1-4, 1-5, 6-4 chord progression. 6 can be replaced with a flattened 7th. The flattened 7th is we're building a major scale, a major chord, a major triad on the 7th, the flattened 7th. So we can replace the 6 with this flattened 7 to move to the 4, the subdominant 4 in this chord progression. So that's a chord substitution. For example, we have it. So instead of playing these, I'll play. One thing we ask of you, one thing that we desire, that as we worship you, Lord, come and change our lives. That's a song that chord substitution was used. So now this chord is called a borrowed chord because it's not part of the major key, so we can call it a borrowed chord. That's what basically what chord substitution is about. So let's talk about passing chords. There is a very thin line between the concept of chord substitution and the concept of passing chords. While chord substitution is about replacing a chord with another chord, passing chords are the chords you play as leading chords to get to a particular chord in a chord progression. Passing chords involves any chord you play in between chord progressions to add beauty to your play. There are different passing chords that can be used, but we'll learn about the most important passing chords in this lesson. Now the first passing chords that we'll talk about is the 2-5-1 passing chord. The 2-5-1 passing chord involves playing the minor triad on the 2nd degree and the major triad on the 5th degree of any chord you are heading to before landing on the chord itself to complete the 2-5-1 circle. So if I'm going to end on the tonic, playing the 2 of the tonic, the 2 on the scale of C is D, and then the 5 is G. So I play 2-5-1. This is what 2-5-1 is about. So you play the 2-5-1 before the chord you are heading to. Now, but let's quickly see how this can be used in a song sample that we've learned before. So we're going to play the El Shaddai, Elohim and Adonai. But we're going to use some advanced chords. So El Shaddai, F add-2, El Shaddai, this G7, Elohim. Now this is where we are using 2-5-1 passing. You can see a B minor 7th. This is B minor, adding a 7th, Elohim. Then E add 2. This is E major add 2. Remember, we are building minor, major. The 2-5-1 of the chord we are going to A minor. So the 2-5-1 of A minor is a B, the 2 is B, and the 5 is E. So we build a minor triad on the B, which is the 2, and a major triad on the E. So we have El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Elohim, minor, and Adonai. Before we get to the A minor 7, H to H. This is F/D minor, playing D minor as the bass, and then F major on the right hand. H to H is still the same. This is another passing chord. By the power of your name, by the power of your name. 1, 7, 6. We'll talk about this kind of passing chords very briefly in a moment. So El Shaddai, El Shaddai, Elohim and Adonai. I will praise and lift you high, El Shaddai, El Shaddai, El Shaddai. Now, okay. Now, another kind of passing chord is the secondary dominant. I used it just now. Secondary dominant will only require you play the 5-1 progression, so omitting the 2. So instead of playing B minor, E major to A minor, you only play the E minor to A minor. You play the E major to A minor. El Shaddai, El Shaddai, hello, man, I don't know. So that's secondary dominant passing. Alright, the next passing chord is the tritone substitution passing chord. The tritone interval is 6 half steps from or to a note. It is a chord built on the flattened fifth of a major or minor chord. Now, 6 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the tritone substitution is flattened fifth, so I build a major chord on C. So the tritone interval from C is F sharp. So let's say the tritone chord of the chord you are moving from, or the chord that you are adding to, can be used as a passing chord to the next chord progression. Now we can have a tritone passing in between a tonic 1 and to a supertonic 2 chord progression as so if I want to move from 1 to 2 and I want to play a tritone passing, so let's say C major 7 as 1 and to a D minor 7 as 2, so I can play the F sharp 7th before the D minor 7th. That's using the tritone of C. The tritone of C is F sharp, so I use the tritone of C as a passing to the D minor. So I can play it in inversion. The inversion would be, or this is the best inversion, so I can this uses the tritone of C as the passing. We can also use the tritone of the chord you are adding to, which is D. The tritone interval of D is C sharp and G sharp. So we'll play the G sharp 7th. So this is G sharp 7. Then we'll play it in its inversion. So this is G sharp 7 in the 3rd inversion. So we're playing. Sorry. And I can play the E flat as the bass. So that's what tritone substitution passing is about. Now we have the approach passing chords. The approach passing is the simplest form of passing technique and also the most commonly used form of passing chords. Descending 2 half steps to get to a chord is referred to as minor chromatic passing. For example, playing A minor, A flat minor before playing G in a chord progression is a minor chromatic passing, and it involves playing the chords in their minor forms. So if I play A minor to A flat minor before playing G, that's a minor chromatic passing. Now descending 3 half steps to get to a chord is referred to as chromatic passing. For instance, playing F, E, E flat before playing D minor in a chord progression is the chromatic passing, and it entails playing the chords in their major forms. So F major, E major, E flat major to play to D. That's a chromatic passing. Chromatic passing. Now you can use the chord before or after the chord you are moving to on a major scale as a passing chord to that chord. That's the diatonic approach passing chord. For example, like the song we just learned how to play. Shaddai, Shaddai, hello. And so I moved 1, 7, 6. That's a diatonic approach passing chord. You can play the chord before or after the chord you're going to as a passing chord. We can also approach a chord by a semitone interval. For example, C, C sharp to 2. So that's a semitone diatonic approach. The passing chords allow for creativity, and there are no limits to how far you should go about using passing chords. Only be very careful not to overdo it. In fact, it is always nice when you keep your playing as simple as possible.